Hello BookTube, Sarah here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with my weekly reads for August the 18th of 2018. So in my weekly reads videos every week I talk about all the books that I finished this week and I let you guys know what I'm currently reading. So a couple quick announcements before I get started, excuse me. My latest video for Read Bliss for the Read Bliss channel for Harlequin went up on Tuesday. So in case you didn't see it and you're interested, I will leave a link to it in the description box below, so please do feel free to go check that out. The other thing is, and I've mentioned this, that I really wanted to start doing some more written reviews. So I have started back up my blog, and I will leave a link to that with the rest of my contact information, like to my Twitter and Instagram and all that. It will be listed in that section at the bottom of the description down below. So if you're interested in going to check out the blog, I have 3 reviews up currently, and I do plan, one of my goals for this weekend is to do some more, to write up some more, and I hope to have them scheduled to go up during the week. So please do feel free to follow that blog if you're interested to see, you know, I do talk about these books in these videos, but in case you're interested in just kind of quickly reading them over, that's cool. My goal is, and I am a little bit behind, is to try and get a written review up within a week of me reading the book, but sometimes that doesn't happen because life gets busy. But yeah, so that's going to be there now as well. So, what am I drinking this week? In my mug, I have got a peach Mai Tai. This is a black tea, and it is so good, you guys. Oh my gosh. So it is orange blossom and peach and apple, and I think pineapple's in here too. It's really, really good. It's a low caffeine tea. It's not a caffeine free, but it is low caffeine. So if that's something that you're looking at. I picked this up from David's a couple weeks ago. I placed an order with them and got some more tea, and I got a new one of these actually, but it's not clear. It looks more like a travel mug, like with the metal casing on the outside, so you can't see the liquid inside. It was for their 10th anniversary, and it's got 2 little penguins on it, and it's kind of says 10th anniversary on it. I had to get it because it was so cute. But it can be used for both hot and cold tea. So I'm really going to appreciate that come the fall and winter, so I can take my tea to work. And I just prefer making it this way because I find it's an easier cleanup. But yes, I absolutely recommend this tea if you can get your hands on it. It's really yummy. So that's it for announcements. Let's jump into the books. I finished 7 books this week, you guys. I can't believe it. So the very first book that I finished this week was Lone Star Christmas by Delores Fossen. This is a contemporary romance Christmas novel, of course. It's book number 1 in the Coldwater, Texas series, and it was published in 2018 by Harlequin. It actually doesn't come out till September 25th. So this was an arc from Harlequin for another Read Bliss video that I've got coming out in September. This book has an average rating on Goodreads of 4 stars. I was the first one to rate it, and I gave it 4 stars as well. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I am going to be talking about it in that video, but like I said about the written reviews, there will be a written review up for it within the next week up on the blog, so please do go ahead and check that out. No challenges for that one either. The next book that I finished was The Surgeon and the Cowgirl by Heidi Horme. This was another contemporary romance. It is book number 1 in the Angel Crossing series, Angel Crossing Arizona series, the first book. It's a Harlequin Western romance number 1552, and it was published originally in 2015 by Harlequin. Average rating on Goodreads of 4.15 stars, and I gave it 3.5 stars. No challenges for this one either. This was a cute story. It didn't blow me away. I think my main issue with this was the female lead, Jesse. So the premise of the story is that Jesse and, what's his name? Payson was his name. Were married at one point, and they were married for about 4 or 5 years. She was actually a cowgirl in the rodeo, and he is a surgeon, a pediatric surgeon, it sounds like. And they kind of had a very tumultuous relationship. She was never home, and he was never home because when they were married, he was going through medical school, and they ended up divorcing, and now she kind of needs his help because of an injury, she is now off the rodeo circuit, and she has started this program at her ranch for kids who are special needs, and you know, to get them horseback riding and things like that. But she is having a lot of financial issues, and to get this really up and running, she needs the help of medical professionals to state that yes, this is a legitimate, you know, therapy kind of thing. So the two of them are brought back together, and of course they butt heads through it the whole thing. My issue with her was that she just seems so mean to him a lot of the time, you know, for almost no reason. Like, he's there to kind of help her, And I mean, he's trying to tell her how to do things, and she's resisting. I mean, he's not telling her how to run her business, but he's like giving her suggestions like these are things that you need to do in order to, you know, pass these standards and stuff like that, and to have these doctors and stuff kind of write off saying that this is legitimate. And she's just fighting him at every turn that she has to be right all the time, and it really got annoying. It really got annoying. But you know, the premise of the story itself I really, really enjoyed. And yeah, I mean, pick it up if you're interested. It was really cute. It was a really quick, I mean, once I found the book, because I think I mentioned last week that I actually lost the book for like a week. I couldn't find it. Once I found it, it was a really quick read. So I'm not saying I hated it, but she just kind of really started to drive me crazy. The next book that I finished, guys, I loved this book so much. Rainy Day Friends by Jill Shalvis. This is a chick lit contemporary romance. It borders more on the chick lit, but there is, of course, romance in the story. Book number 2 in the Wildstone series, narrated on audio by the amazing Karen White. This was published in 2018 by William Morrow. It has an average rating of 4.36 stars on Goodreads, guys. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. I got 3 challenges done for this one. Sorry, Gorn is complaining because, you know, I haven't played and loved him enough today. So I got for the Triple RC challenge for the month of August. Was it August? Yes. August 1st was National Girlfriends Day, so you had to read a story that contained female friendships, and this one did. For the Fly Around the World challenge, I got Johnstone, Pennsylvania, JST, excuse me, and that's my 24th out of 105th book for that challenge. Sorry, cat butt. And for my summer romance book bingo, this was for a book that was published in 2018. Gorn, please sit your butt down. Really? I just can't have nice things. He's mad because I think I have his tower covered because I was filming another Read Bliss video before I did this one. So I covered the cat tower just to make it look a little bit nicer. So yes, guys, this book was fantastic. It is the second book, like I said, in the Wildstone series, but you do not have to have read the first book. One of the characters from the first book is mentioned in passing. I actually kept waiting for some of the characters in the first book to show up, but they didn't. It just, the whole series premise is that they take place in the same small town in California. So the whole premise of the story is about a woman named, what's her name again? Lainey. And she, her husband just passed. She's a widow of about 6 months. And she agrees to take this job for this winery in Wildstone. Oh, cat jumping. And it's a contract position. So she thinks this will be great. It kind of gets her out of what she's normally doing. And you know, things like that. And she can come to this winery and kind of detox and stuff like that. Like, mentally detox. She does suffer from anxiety, high anxiety. And it was actually very refreshing to read a character that suffered from it. At the beginning of every chapter, there's like this little play, like little saying or little something. I don't even know how to put it, but there's a little bit of a line, and it's like her brain talking to her. And, you know, some of them were quite humorous, and I do appreciated that. It's not that they were making fun of the fact that she has anxiety, but the fact that they were kind of finding a little bit of humor in that fact. Does that make sense? You know, so like there's one where, you know, it said something like, me, what could possibly go wrong? And then it says like, my brain, let's start listing things, you know, stuff like that. You know, so she has quite this history with her deceased husband. I don't want to get into too much about what that history was because I don't think it's revealed on the back of the book. You should go into it and read it and see what you think about it. But a woman that has to deal with her ex-husband shows up all of a sudden, but doesn't tell Lainey who she is. And this woman's name is River. And she's a young girl. She's only 21. Lainey is in her early 30s. And, you know, secrets are revealed and things like that. That's why I said this is much more of a women's fiction than it is a contemporary romance. Now, there is a romance involved with her and Mark, who is the son of the owner of the winery. He is the local sheriff, and he has 2 little twin daughters. His ex-wife walked out on the family and wanted nothing to do with them, and, you know, he's now raising the girls on his own. The girls are adorable. I find with kids in stories, it can go one of 2 ways. The kids can either be really obnoxious and annoying, or they can be stinking adorable, and these 2 little girls were stinking adorable. The narration of them was priceless. I absolutely love that part of it. there's like all the time the one twin, because it's a set of twins, Samantha and Sierra, she go, "Daddy, daddy, daddy." And it's the way that it was narrated, you can just absolutely hear this little 6-year-old girl running into a room screaming that, right? You know what I mean? It was so fantastic. You know, there were a few scenes in this book that were adult in nature, but for what Jill Shalvis is normally known as, they were extremely tame. You know, they weren't lengthy scenes, they weren't overtly graphic scenes. If that's something, you know, that kind of thing makes you a little hesitant, you know, it's just as easy. You could hit that button, like if you're listening to it as an audiobook, you could hit that button, like the fast forward for 30 seconds a couple times, and you'd be good and you wouldn't miss anything. You know, just letting you guys know, for those of you who might not be interested, because this was such a good story, and I really think that everybody needs to read it because I absolutely loved it. So the next book that I finished was called Maybe For You by Nicole McLaughlin. This is another contemporary romance novel. It is book number 3 in the Whiskey and Wedding series. This was published in 2018 by St. Martin's Press. It has an average rating on Goodreads of 4.37 stars, and I gave it 4 stars. I did get one challenge for this one. This one I got for the Where Are You Reading challenge, where I am trying to read a book from every state, and I got the state of Kansas because this one takes place mainly in Kansas City, Kansas. So yeah, so that's exciting. This is a book that I got from NetGalley, so this is a NetGalley read, so many thanks to the publisher for sending me this for review. The written review is already up on the blog if you're interested in checking that one out. I enjoyed the story a lot. I mean, I gave it 4 stars. But unfortunately, from what I was expecting to what I actually got, I was just a little bit disappointed, so that's why I didn't give it like a 4.5 star rating, which is kind of what I was going for. So this is billed as like a road trip romance. So it is the story of, Alexis and Jake. And like I said, they're in the series, but you don't have to have read the first 2 books in the series. This can absolutely be read as a standalone. So Alexis is actually an Army veteran. And at the very beginning of the story, in the prologue of the book, you find out that her fiance was just killed. He was killed in action. And she is still grieving. It had only been like, you know, a few months, and she was really heartbroken. And she had come back for a slight, like, on leave, I guess, back to the States. And then she was flying back to Italy to go on base in Italy for a year, which is what her and the fiance were actually supposed to do, because they were weeks from getting married when he was killed. But she decides to go ahead and do it anyway to try and help her heal. So, you know, there's the prologue, and then there's a 1-year gap, and then the story starts. So she's now back from Italy. It's been, you know, a year. And the entire time that she was away, she's texting with one of her brother's, her brother's best friend, Jake. And then when she comes back, she kind of has nothing to do for the summer because she's accepted a position with the CIA as she reads maps. That's like her job, is she reads maps and stuff like that. And she's taken this job with the CIA. But the job doesn't start till November, and it's like the beginning of June, and it's like, what is she going to do? So Jake works for the business, the Stag Whiskey Company, and they brew their own, is it called brewing when you brew whiskey, or distill? They distill their own whiskey, and they're a distillery. And he does the social media part of it. So like he actually goes out and goes to places and like festivals and like concerts and things like that, and they have this RV that he takes. And, you know, they kind of give away product and do giveaways and things like that. So he's going to go on this 2-week road trip. And he says, well, why don't, like, she kind of offers and says, well, why don't I come with you? And he gives me something to do for a few weeks. Now, my assumption was the entire story was going to be that 2-week road trip. And, you know, people talk about buzzwords in books. Road trip is one for me. A road trip romance, I absolutely love. And that part of the story was fantastic. You know, of course it got hot and spicy and things like that, but then they came home, and it was like less than halfway through the book, and I have to admit, I was disappointed. I was expecting the entire book to be like a road trip romance, but no, then they come back home. And then, you know, it kind of takes into typical contemporary romance fashion, you know, where there is an accidental pregnancy. You know, I'm not giving too much away, I don't think, but, you know, I mean, that does happen, and it's the course of their relationship, and her brother is really mad that she's kind of seeing his best friend and things like this. All in all, it was a really, really good book. I was just thoroughly disappointed that we didn't get more road trip. There's just something about two people stuck together on a road trip that I don't know what it is. It's catnip to me. I love it. But yeah, I absolutely recommend this book. It was thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyable. And yeah, I absolutely enjoyed it. So the next book that I finished was Renegade's Pride by B.J. Daniels. This is a romantic suspense novel. It is book number 1 in the Cahill Ranch series. This was narrated on audio by Graham Winton. It was published in 2017 by HQN. Average rating on Goodreads of 4.31 stars. I only gave it 3 stars, and I did not get any challenges for this one. This is one that I was reading to catch up on a series, but I made a mistake when I picked this one, because in Goodreads, that's why I say I always don't go by Goodreads. I tend to use Fiction Database more to look for series, because Goodreads is often incorrect, unfortunately. Especially when it comes to like Harlequin books and stuff, even though this one wasn't a Harlequin book. So one of the ones I read from my BJ Daniels video a couple months ago was the second book in the Cahill Ranch series, I think it was called. What's this one called? No, the Cahill something series. And it was the second book. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go back and read the first book. Well, this is actually part of the Cahill Ranch series, which is actually a very different series according to Fiction Database. And if you actually look at the covers of the books, it does say that. Like, it does say the 2 different series. So I actually started a new series without intending to. Now, these 2 series do kind of go together, but I think one is an offshot. One is obviously an offshot of the other, because the character from the book that I read for the BJ Daniels video, Hawk, shows up, is in this book. So, you know, they still kind of all go together, but they're more companion. Anyway, I'm yammering on about series. Sorry, guys. So the whole premise of the story, it's about our main characters' names are Lillian and Trask. And Trask took off 10 years earlier because he was accused of killing someone, and they wanted to bring him in for questioning, but he knew he didn't kill this guy, so he took off. Him and Lillian had been hot and heavy. They'd been, a couple. They were in their late teens, early 20s, I think, at the time. And then all of a sudden he shows back up in town and decides he wants to clear his name. So the entire premise is them trying to clear his name. Well, it was interesting, but what really bothered me is that I don't think we had enough. I mean, we had backstory of the previous relationship between Lillian and Trask, but all of a sudden he shows back up in town, and she's like, she's either threatening to kill him because she's afraid of him, or she's like jumping into bed with him, essentially. Like, there's no middle ground here. I mean, if it were me and it was even if it was just an ex-boyfriend who wasn't accused of murder, came back into my life, and yet let's pretend I was single, and because I'm not, I'm married, happily married, I'm just doing a what if, I wouldn't be throwing myself at this guy within a week. And add to the fact that this guy's accused of murder. Now, she doesn't believe that he did it, which is good. But, I mean, even if you just met up with a friend after 10 years, you're not just suddenly going to become buddy-buddy with them in 3 seconds, depending on the friend, unless you knew that friend since you were, like, in public school. Like, me and my best friend, we don't see each other. We see each other maybe every 6 months. And when we see each other, it's like we saw each other the weekend before. That's a completely different thing. So anyway, that bothered me. I just didn't buy their relationship. That's what I was having a really hard time wrapping my head around. And to be completely honest, the whole mystery involving whoever killed the guy, I actually found kind of boring, to be completely honest. What I actually found a lot more interesting was the B-plot with Lillian's brother, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but Flint. But he's the sheriff in town, and he there's this woman who's gone missing on this ranch, and I was far more interested to find out what happened to this missing woman than I was to anything else. Like, when I was listening to it on audio and we kind of get to Lillian and Trask, and it was like, yeah, okay. I mean, it wasn't not interesting, but it just didn't do it for me. Does that make sense? But then they'd start talking about this missing woman. I'd be like, oh, what happened to her? Like, was she at the beauty parlor? Was she right into those prisoners? Things like that. That part of it was highly entertaining. And like I said, it's the B plot, but it's got to be a good 30% of the novel follows that storyline. So that was really enjoyable, and I am happy about that part of it. I mean, not one of my favorite from B.J. Daniels, but not horrible, but not fantastic. The next book that I finished was The Mystery at Lilac Inn by Carolyn Keene. I finished the Nancy Drew book. Yay! This is, of course, a mystery novel. It is book number 4 in the Nancy Drew series, the original Nancy Drew series. This was originally published in 1930. It has an average rating of 3.96 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3.5 stars. I figure that unless I really, really dislike a Nancy Drew book, they're generally going to get about 3.5 stars from me. This one was really enjoyable. It was about a mystery at Lilac Inn. And she and her friend Helen are there visiting because their other friend is inheriting the inn, and there's missing diamonds, and there's a ghost, and there's an explosion at a cabin, and there's like stuff going on in the river. Guys, what I realized after reading this is there is so much that goes on in these Nancy Drew books. There is more going on in these books than in some adult mysteries that I read now. Like, you know, there are so many different characters and so many things going on, and Nancy's driving all over and going to all these different places, and, you know, I mean, these are so good, and I am so thrilled that I'm rereading through them, and I can't wait to get to the next one. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I've really got to pick up the pace. Sorry, my hair's doing really weird things tonight, and I've really got to pick up the pace and, you know, get reading, because I've got a lot of books on my back to my childhood type books that I am reading that I just want to read them all right now. So yeah. So the last book I want to talk about is called 6 Weeks to Catch a Cowboy, and this is by Brenda Harlen. This is another one I'm not going to talk too much about, but you know, I really enjoyed this one. It's adorable. Look at that cover, you guys. Isn't it adorable? I love her little pink cowboy boots. Do they make those in an adult size? Because I really need a pair. I would absolutely rock a pair of pink cowboy boots. No joke. So this is a contemporary romance, if you didn't realize that from the cover. It is book number 3 in a Match Made in Haven series. It takes place, all the book takes place in a small town called Haven. And it's in northern Nevada, actually. It is Harlequin Special Edition novel number 2642. It was published in 2018 by Harlequin. As of me filming this video, this book hasn't been released yet. It comes out September 1st. So this is another one that I read for Read Bliss for another video coming out in September. Has an average rating of 4.5 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 4 stars. I don't want to talk up too much about it, like I said. It's kind of a second chance romance. It's about a surprise child that he didn't know about. And yeah, it's a really cute story. I absolutely recommend that you go ahead and pick it up. And stay tuned. I will let you guys know when that Read Bliss video comes out so you guys can hear a bit more about this. But I will probably have a written review for this one up on the blog sometime in the next week. So if you're interested in getting like a little sneak peek, you can definitely do that. So, what am I currently reading, you guys? My current audiobook is Always My Girl by Samantha Chase. This is book number 3 in the Shaughnessy Brothers series. It is narrated on audio by Christopher Kipanik and Julia McCoyta. This is a story about 2 people who had been friends since they were kids, and he always just saw her as one of the guys, and, you know, now he's starting to see her because of circumstances and things changing that, you know, hey, wait, she's a girl, and she's kind of cute. I think I might like to go for that. I have a few issues with this one. One is with the actual story itself. Our main character, the male lead, and I'm sorry, his name is escaping me at the moment. There's certain things that he's doing that's really bugging me. He's very alpha male, and that's usually not my favorite thing in the world to read about. But he's almost an alpha male to the extreme. Most of the time he's a cute, goofy guy, but then he starts talking like, there's one scene I was just listening to on my way home from work today. And she is a real estate agent, and she, of course, dressed up to go show a house to somebody. Well, this somebody that she was showing the house to just happens to be a guy that they went to high school with, and this guy just happens to be single. So she comes back over to, you know, the main character's house, and they're talking, and she's like, oh, so I showed a house to so-and-so today. And, you know, oh, and he's like, oh, and how is he doing? Oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he's single, and he's doing really well, and things like that. And then the guy accuses her of dressing that way to seduce him. Really? Like, I just kind of I almost had to step back, like, listening to it, like, you're kidding. So that's my one issue so far with the writing itself, like with the actual book itself. My other issue is with the narration. I have no issue with the narration. I like both the narrators. My issue is, and I find some audiobooks do this, and it takes me a bit to get used to, and even once I'm a little bit used to it, it still does bother me, and that is because there's a dual narration, a male and a female. In the story, it's not like he narrates a chapter and she narrates a chapter. You know, they kind of do jump back and forth, but if he's narrating the chapter and the female character is speaking, it's the female narration. And I don't know, there's just, in some cases it's good, But it's not what I'm used to, I think, and it's not my favorite. I don't love it. But yeah, so that's just, you know, my own personal pet peeve. It's got nothing to do with the writing of the story or what the story's like. My current ebook is Second Chance at Two Love Lane by Kieran Kramer. This is book number 3 in the Two Love Lane series. This is another NetGalley book, and I am enjoying it so far. I'm only about a chapter or 2 in. I just started it today. It's about a woman who runs a matchmaking service, and she ends up something with a second chance romance and things like that. It looks really, really adorable, and so far the writing on it's quite good, and I'm enjoying it, but you know, I can't say too much because again, I'm only about a chapter into it. My current childhood book, and I just mentioned that I have a lot of childhood book series that I'm slowly working my way through. So these are all going to take me many, many years to get through all these, but I am absolutely okay with that because I've decided I now need to pick back up the Sweet Valley High series. I read book number 1 a couple of years ago, but I'm going to start over again because I do so love reading these books. So I'm starting off with Double Love by Francine Pascal, book number 1 in the Sweet Valley High series. These are available for the Kindle. The only books that are not available for the Kindle are the special editions. Like the special editions, the super thrillers, the Magna editions, like the big thick ones that they had out. Those are not available on ebook, and it's really disappointing. So I actually placed an order today on Amazon for some used books, and I added a bunch of those in. Watch. Once I get to them in the series, they're suddenly going to release them all for the Kindle. I guarantee it. It's Murphy's Law. But now I'll have copies of them if I so desire to read them as print books. But yes, I'm starting with this one. For those of you not familiar with the Sweet Valley series, the series is essentially a teenage soap opera. It's about twin sisters Jessica and Elizabeth, who are absolutely perfect, but they are absolute opposites. Elizabeth is studious, Jessica's a party animal, and yeah, I enjoyed this series quite a bit. I would really love for them to re-release the Sweet Valley Twins series as an ebook, on ebook for the Kindle. The Sweet Valley High series takes place when the girls are 16. They're sophomores in high. Is it sophomore or is it junior? I can never remember. One of those. I think they're juniors. They're 16 regardless. And yeah, I think they're juniors. And is when they're in high school. And then the Sweet Valley Twins series is actually when they're in, I think, grade 6 or grade 7 in middle school. So, and then there was another series, Sweet Valley Kids, when they were in like elementary school essentially. And then it went on to another series, which was University, where they're in university. Then there was an offshot series of a few books of Elizabeth, where Elizabeth traveled on her own to England. And then they had out, and I have it right here. Yes, I bought this. I own a copy, you guys. I am not ashamed at all. I bought and read Sweet Valley Confidential, which is the book that takes place 10 years after... Is it 10 years after Sweet Valley High? 10 years later. So I think it was 10 years after Sweet Valley High. Yeah, it was trash. It was trash in the best aspect of being trash. If you grew up with the Sweet Valley High series, guys, you need to read this. It was thoroughly enjoyable. So my plan is that once I'm eventually done in 10 years reading through the series again, I'll pick this back up. And word on the street is, guys, for those of you who are Sweet Valley fans, they're actually bringing out a graphic novel in October. And it's going to be an all-new story. Yeah, I may or may not be pre-ordering that in the next little while. So, yeah. So anyway, that's my childhood book. My print book is right over here. I am reading Avalanche of Trouble by Cindi Myers. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I'm about 20 pages in. Disappointed in myself, you guys. I have not picked this up this week. I don't know why. My goal over this weekend, I'm hosting a readathon. If you guys did not see the announcement video, I'll post the link in the description box below. And it's essentially called the Create Your Own Readathon, where you can do whatever you want to do over this weekend to encourage your reading. My plan is to read for 12 hours out of the 48 hours. So my goal is, by the end of the weekend, to, if not finish this book, at least get to like there, to have like that much left. I do have a set kind of time limit. I'd like to finish these within a week, and I started this one on Tuesday. I'd like to get it done by Monday. So yeah, so that's my goal. These are relatively easy to read. I mean, you know, they're not super, you know, difficult, but so far I am thoroughly enjoying this one. But again, I'm only about 20 pages in. So as I did last week, and you guys really seem to enjoy me doing this and putting my book hauls kind of into the video that I'm currently like into my weekly reads, I only have one new book that I kind of added to my TBR this week, and that is My Forever Home by Debbie Burns. This is book number 3 in the Rescue Me series. This was from NetGalley. I got approved for this one. I was so thrilled when I saw it up on NetGalley. I thought, let's try and see. So I, put my request in, and it's so funny because the first book in the series, A New Leash on Love, was the very first book I ever got on NetGalley. And then the second book in the series I bought on audiobook and read on my own earlier this year. So this is now the third book. Is that cover not gorgeous? This book is set for release on November 27th. So I will not be reading this one until November. I do try and read them. I know a lot of people read their NetGalley books like months ahead of time. I try and stick it to the month that the book actually comes out. That's just me. Everybody's different. And yeah, this one looks really adorable. I did go ahead and kind of read some of the reviews that are already up on Goodreads. I know a lot of people don't like doing that. I tend to do it like when I buy the book, and then I don't look at them before I read the book. So it'll be months before I read the book. And it's not like I read any spoilers. But what I did notice from some people, they talked about that some of the chapters in this book are actually from the perspective of the stray dog or the dog that's in the shelter. And they say some of them are some of those scenes are extremely difficult to read. So I'm going to have to go into this, being very careful. There's not a lot that bother me in books. I can read a lot of pretty much anything. I don't like horror. That's different. But anything that deals with animal abuse or animal neglect, or even if an animal is loved its entire life and dies of old age, I will be sobbing my eyes out. So I am got to prepare myself ahead of time for when I read this one, that this one might get difficult for me in certain parts. But of course, once I do read it, I will obviously let you guys know if that is in fact the case. So last thing I want to talk to you guys about in this video is my knitting. I have found I used to like knit on several projects at a time. I'd always have a pair of socks on the go and, a couple other projects. But I don't know, maybe it's this project or maybe it's just in general because I'm not doing the knitting podcast really anymore, that I found I'm a much more monogamous knitter now. When I was doing the podcast, you didn't want to show the same thing every week, right? Like the exact, like only that project every week. So, I tended to knit on more than one thing because then I'd have multiple things to show people. But now I'm absolutely loving this, and this is all I've really been working on for the past couple weeks. So again, if you did not see the bag last week, in my adorable, I love this bag so much, my Golden Girls bag. There's Dorothy and Blanche and Sophia. She was always my favorite. And of course, Rose. I absolutely love this. It's getting a little bit too big to fit in the bag, and that makes me sad that I'm going to have to switch it to another bag. But like I think I said last week, I use this bag for everything. Like any project that I can fit in this, I will use it. So I actually put a marker in so I can show you guys. And guess what, guys? It's a Golden Girl stitch marker. It's Blanche. Can you see? So anyway, that's where I was last week, and that's all that I got knit this week. So, yeah, about 3 or 4 inches, I'd say. So yeah, so I have joined this, oops, excuse me. I have joined the sweater for working in the round. So it's got this really nice V-neck, as you can see here. The sleeves are on hold, so there's the sleeves. And I'm just kind of knitting the body now. I've got to go 16 inches down in the body. And I'm actually doing, the pattern gives you the option to do either waist shaping or not waist shaping. And I am putting in the waist shaping because I like it when it cinches in just a little bit at the waist. I mean, it's not going to be anything drastic, but So yeah, so that's what I'm currently working on. So this pattern is called, what's it called? Seclude. It's called Seclude. And the designer is Alicia Plummer. I will actually leave a link to the pattern in the description box below as well in case you guys are curious to go check it out for yourselves. It's available on Ravelry, which is a great website for knitters and crocheters and fiber artist people. So if you're ever interested in checking that out, you have to join to have access to the patterns. This is a paid-for pattern, and you can buy the patterns directly on the website, but it is free to join the website itself. So yeah, so there is the sweater. That's what it's going to look like. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. So other than that, guys, that is it for this video. I know this has been a little bit longer, so I do apologize, but 7 books, you guys. And I do like to talk. So videos coming up this week on Tuesday is going to be the vlog because I am vlogging this weekend for the readathon. So that's super exciting. And I also have my Harlequin anticipated reads are coming up later this week too. So stay tuned for that. There are some great books that are coming out in September from Harlequin, you guys. So anyway, that is it for this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below, have you read any of these books and what did you think about them? Or, you know, what book did you read this week that you absolutely loved? And until my next video, guys, take care and happy reading. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Bye.